drops, there's waves in it, but overall it's going up, and we're going to see more murders. Maybe not this year, but there will be in the future.
Why is this important to the Pittsburgh Initiative to Reduce Crime? And many of you may be sitting at home and saying, okay, we hear what you're saying, but why is this important right now? And let me explain to you why this is important. Because, Les, those characteristics between Boston and Pittsburgh are very important. When you look at Boston as a port city, you have things coming in from everywhere, which means that it's very difficult to provide security when you have barges literally of thousands of tractor trailers that are stacked 6 or 7 high on top of each other of keeping some major bulk drugs from coming in, which means that you have DTOs. And DTOs are drug trafficking organizations. It takes organized organizations to work drugs like that. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar business here.
That's right.
When we talk about drugs. We're not talking about what we're accustomed to seeing here in Pittsburgh. And when we always say we have no gangs, when you hear us say that, what we're talking about is that we're talking about gangs. Unless, can we tell them what kind of gangs we're talking about here? I'm going to show you something, folks, that if our producers will give us a camera, this is what we're talking about, because this is what you call the Gang Intelligence Guide. This is from a program in Baltimore, Maryland, that literally works through correctional facilities. And in this book, this literally talks about gangs that are in prisons in the Maryland area. And this is the way that they communicate with law enforcement agencies, because they actually can show you some organized gangs. You want to talk about gangs, unless we talk about it all the time, that, you know, we have to be very serious about what we're dealing with here when we talk about our problems here in Pittsburgh. Now, we know we have drugs in this city. We know we have movement in this city. But when we start talking about from a gang atmosphere, we don't have the sort of gangs that a Boston would have. We don't have the sort of gangs that a Maryland or a Baltimore or a New York City would have. Because
it's a bigger market. 520,000 people, we're 320, and those are the numbers from 2006.
Absolutely, and that's a huge difference. So when we begin to look at some of the demographics and even geography in our area, with some of these hills, makes it very difficult to move things in and out, in opposed to having a very flat area that you can move through and that is very easy to move through. So when we talk about the effectiveness in this and looking at the objectives with a program, then it's not necessary that if you have clear objectives that the program's going to work, is it, Les?
Well, if it says in here in very clear statement, if the design clarity is there, you may be able to make it work, but you've got to implement every single part of the design. And in most of these cities that tried, either the carrot was missing, the stick was too oppressive, and therefore the overall program ended up falling short of its desired goals. So therefore, what can Pittsburgh do? What should we be doing? We should be taking this book and analyzing every aspect of it so that we can tilt the windmill of making something good come from our investment by the mayor.
We talk about a police problem, police presence, so to speak, not having enough numbers of police in the city of Pittsburgh. When we start talking about a gang enforcement strategy now we're talking about having the necessity to begin to have units that are designed to deal with these gangs, correct? Now, Pittsburgh has a brand new curfew center that is going on, and you know, one of our biggest arguments is who's going to enforce it and how. When we come back, we're going to talk about the enforcement strategies of a gang enforcement unit in the police departments, why they work and why they don't work. This is The Conscience Presents. I'm Dave Adams. We'll be right back.
Hear the one about the mom and the mechanic? They made a big splash running a car wash. See, the local PTA, an auto body shop, and their community coalition organized car washes, raising money to expand after-school programs. They knew keeping kids busy keeps them away from drugs. So now the town's got clean cars and clean kids. What can your group do? Contact your community coalition at helpyourcommunity.org because you get more
when you get together.
Tell me my favorite story.
Once upon a time, a girl had a secret playmate.
Who lived in a castle in cyberspace.
And they downloaded megabyte after megabyte.
Which took a gig and half a memory.
At 3 million bits per second.
And that was 60 times faster than the old dial-up.
By age 12, too many girls lose interest in math and science and their chance at most future jobs. Keep her interest alive.
Could we read Alice in Numberland?
It's her future. Do the math.
Welcome back to The Conscience Presents. I'm Dave Adams. We are talking about where are the perks in the PERK program. And if you've been out in the 9th District particularly, Mr. Burgess, our councilman in this district, has been pretty much going forth and calling meetings and getting everybody pumped up for the new Pittsburgh initiative to reduce crime. And we're just sitting here and we're saying, whoa, 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 Mr. Burgess, slow down a minute and let us take a look at this, because when the final analysis comes down, folks, it's going to be your child that may be arrested. It may be your nephew, your niece, your grandchild. It may be just simply for wearing a particular color as they walk down the street doing nothing that is picked up and associated with a gang. Because when you say you got a gang problem eventually and you begin to get resources to fight a gang problem, then all of a sudden you better find some gangs, huh? And those gangs better come from, no matter where they come from, you better start producing some gangs, right?
Well, that's part of the question, and there's still another issue that really boggles my mind. In our research and going to classes and so on, what did we find out about the normal course of crime? In the warm weather, you got the most. In the cold weather, the number of murders, the number of all the different things does what?
Goes down.
It goes down. Now, let's look at what the current plan calls for. We're going to start this program exactly when?
Well, it was scheduled to start 6 months from October, which was February. That grew into July, and now we're looking, by the time that I think the University of Pittsburgh takes their money and Kennedy gets his money, we may be looking into the fall sometime, pretty much when it cools down.
When it cools down. So therefore, there will be a predisposition for the numbers to look good.
Well, yeah, Burgess is calling for a September call out of we don't know who yet. It's going to be interesting to see who we target,
That's
and
right.
who's going to come in and sit down in these meetings, and so that they could throw the threat out to them and see who we're targeting.
Well, now
at that
it gets
point.
worse. It really does get worse, because in these 17 years and 22 cities, as soon as the program was dropped,
the crime rose.
The
right
crime
back up.
rose right back up. So therefore, yes, we can go before the electorate. Is the mayor going before the electorate and dropping the figures based on weather or real results? That's a question for me as a candidate and as a citizen, a grave concern, because it's $200,000. I'd rather take that money almost and educate the worst of the so-called gang leaders, send them to college, because Warden Rustin of the county jail said he took 10 in handcuffs and leg shackles to college. They all graduated. Guess what the recidivism rate was? How many came back to jail? Which is the true measure.
None.
Well, that's right. None came back. So education, which we're having a terrible time with here in Pittsburgh, raising our scores, jobs, second chance opportunities, all become major impediments to making any program work.
Okay, so which brings an important question now, because you talked about a little earlier about these carrots that come along with the program. There's the threat that we're not going to tolerate it, but then you have to come behind with the carrots that say, okay, here is an opportunity, young man, for you to do something other than to join this gang. What are these carrots going to be? Because we don't, and I think we're sick and tired of after-school programs. We don't want to play basketball. These kids want to make some money. They want a piece of the American dream that they see on television every day, that America screams that they can have, but it seems to be a closed door, a brick wall standing in front of them. So the question comes down to this. What are the carrots going to be in this particular city? Is it important or is it not?
Oh, I think it's absolutely critical to the success of any crime reduction problem.
Every kid is not college material. Therefore,
that's right.
Maybe we need to start talking about some skills. Maybe we need something.
Vocational schools. Open up Connolly again.
That's what we're talking about. What type of carrots are we having? And do you, as the viewers, are you concerned enough about something new coming into your neighborhood, coming into your community? The police are ready. They got all their stuff is together. They're ready to lock them up. I think we're building a new annex to the prisons or new prisons. We're ready to lock them up and throw away the key. But the question comes down to what is going to be the carrot side. What are we going to offer these kids to come back? Because I don't want to see no more wives that are overfunded and underused. I'm sick of sports being the only thing that we offer our kids to move forward. We have to have viable job-seeking opportunities. We have to have viable opportunities for these guys to make some money and have a family and become productive citizens, taxpayers again. And anything short than that less I would say would be cheating the public. Would you agree?
Exactly. And to take it a step further, when you don't have a second chance opportunity and you're in the wrong company, I used to say to my kids, you can't bring those kids home because that's the wrong group for you to be in, because you're going to go ahead and get in trouble just as they are. And by the way, some of them overdosed in Squirrel Hill. So therefore, we have to go ahead and look at the parental school relationships. We have to look at the fact that if a person has been incarcerated, the incarceration tends to make them worse, and especially the younger ones, because they don't know what's really going on, what's going down. So they come out more ready to go ahead and do the wrong thing. And what happens? They do the wrong thing. And they go back, and they go back, and they go back again to jail.
So let me ask you this as we conclude this, and maybe one day we may have to come back and talk about this subject a little bit deeper and with a little bit more time. But let me ask you this. In your professional opinion and the work that you as the chief investigator with our organization, the Conscience Group, and we've been working, everybody knows that we have a statewide crime and cultural crime prevention program that we're unveiling for the state of Pennsylvania. Les, in all the work that you've done as a professional, this particular initiative, this particular program, the PIRC, Pittsburgh Initiative to Reduce Crime, do you see it as a viable program that can work as a model in this city?
Only if we target gangs that you and I suspect don't exist. And therefore, to bring it up fast, we're faced with a tremendous opportunity. You don't burn $200,000 plus just for the sake of saying do something.
Right.
So therefore, the biggest single thing that's repeated throughout 27 pages is design. And if we take all of the issues that were negative and turn them around into the positive, then my answer would be, yes, we can try.
So could this work for what we have in Pittsburgh, our little neighborhood street posse, so to speak?
If it is not gangs, then it does not fit the nature of this program, and therefore it is condemned before it actually starts. But let's hope that some of those carrots will rub off well, because the money's already been spent. It's what's over the dam.
I'm more concerned with not so much the $200,000 that's already gone in, but what it's going to cost us further down the road as they begin to change, because what happens when you fail in the first case, you have to make it work. So we began, all of a sudden we started over here with one thing, but then we end up over here with a circus. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. If it is going to work, let's have something that's going to work. Les, thank you for
It's
coming
been a
on.
pleasure to be here.
We're going to maybe revisit this, and depends on how the people, the viewers, view this particular subject. If you want any more information, you know to contact the Conscience Group, and we will have our contact number on the screen for you at the end of this show. This is something very serious, folks, when it comes down, because one thing that we did see is that when you have suppression efforts from gang reduction strategies that you see in the city, then when they swoop up people, they don't care who they're swooping up. If you're wearing red, all of a sudden you become a Blood. If you're wearing blue, all of a sudden you're a Crip, and you start, you just round up everybody you can. We don't need that type of policing in this city.
Dave, can I sneak in for one last
last
point?
thought.
Okay. Throughout this 27 pages, there's two words, and that is significant, that there has to be a significant change. And if there isn't a significant change, how do you define which is which? And it happens that a significant change for the better, or God forbid the worse, is between 6 to 15%. So when you read your newspaper and you watch television here in the city, I'm suggesting to our audience that you keep in mind, what's the definition of success? 6 to 15%. And if it isn't any better, fine. But if it's worse, don't get taken in by an administration that wants to make it look good.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Coming up next on The Conscience Presents, we're going to bring a young gentleman to you by the name of Mr. Simplest Njoya, and he's going to talk about a new cultural aspect that's coming to the city of Pittsburgh, and I think you're going to enjoy it. If you like Across the Waters and you like the sound of some cultural beat, we're going to be bringing that to you in 1 minute, right here on The Conscience Presents. I'm Dave Adams. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Glucose plus oxygen equals carbon dioxide plus water.
Hey, Gio, what's up?
And energy. Superior vena cava, pulmonary artery, coronary artery.
I'd like to pass them back to you now.
For chem
Very
tissue
pleased with
types
your
and
work.
endoplasmic reticulum with ribosomes 3 o'clock already and without. Copy of the skeletal anatomy notes for chem cycle Wednesday, chem 2 carbon dioxide skeletal anatomy Thursday. The lobes of the cortex.
She's got the drive,
Cranial volume.
the energy,
Frontal, parietal,
the heart,
and occipital.
and the talent.
Cortical motor output. Vena cava.
Pre-med.
Different
But she wouldn't be here
evolutionary development.
without your help. Please support the United Negro College Fund, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Syllabus for chem 2.
Welcome back to The Conscience Presents. We hope you are enjoying the show today. And now I'm very proud to bring a new concept to The Conscience Presents show. And that is that we're going to start to open up our cultural bridges. A lot of times we are seeing a growth in our African population, not only in this city, but across the nation, where our African brothers and sisters are coming in. And I, for one, have always been one to try to push the relationships as to what are we doing to make our brothers and sisters feel welcome when they come here? What do you do? Have you ever sat down, and I'm not talking about the folks on the Hill District that walk around with dashikis and, want to throw the sign, and I'm talking about our real, genuine brothers and sisters from across the water. Have you ever sat down and listened to the stories that they bring with them instead of us sitting down and complaining about how tough it is to be a black man in America? How about listening to what our brothers and sisters that come from across the waters, what the culture shock has been for them coming into this area? Today, I'm going to introduce to you a very dignified brother. His name is Simplest Njoya. He comes from Cameroon, or what they call miniature Africa, and I'm going to ask him about that. But we're going to talk, and from this point on the Conscience Group, on the Conscience Presents, I'm sorry, you're going to begin to see that we're going to start opening some of these cultural doors. And we want to do it in a way that is comfortable, in a way that's polite, and we're going to start to get to understand and build those bridges between us, because there's not a good bridge that we have between them. So without any further ado, let me introduce Mr. Simplest. How are you? Welcome to the Conscience Presents. It's good to have you. You're bringing some pretty interesting things to see, but let's talk about you a little bit first. You say you come from Cameroon, or you called it miniature Africa. What does that mean?
Yes, I come from Cameroon, and people have to know, first of all, where Cameroon is. A lot of people knows where it's Nigeria.
Okay.
So I share the same border with Nigeria. I'm on the west side.
All right.
Well, Cameroon is right there in the middle of the Africa. So when you look at the continent, what do we call Africa in miniature? It's because in Cameroon, you will find every single thing that you see in the whole continent in that country.
Wow.
Yes, it's amazing. It will start with the climate. We'll see up north, you will look at the desert. It's really dry. Now, when you come down to the middle of the country, you're going to feel a little bit of humidity, a little bit of rain. Now, when you go all the way to the bottom, it's basically going to be green.
Wow.
So now when you look at that, now when you go back now to, let's say, the religion, you have everything in there. You're talking about Christian, Muslim, and some other like natural religion, like African religion. And you talk about food. You talk about music. You have all different style of music in that country.
That's fantastic, and you know, one of the things that, and I write about this in our newsletter, the Conscious. We have a newsletter, and we talk about. I often speak about the relationship between Black Americans and our brothers and sisters from Africa, yes. and there is a difficult bridge to be built. Would you say? You mentioned a culture shock when you came here. Talk about it a little bit.
Yes, and this actually a true story. This happened 2 weeks after I got here in the United States. And I was in Miami. And I went to school. I had a chance to get a scholarship to play basketball. Now, I grew up in a society where respect is one of the key values. There's a certain way to talk to your parent. There's a certain way to talk to the teacher. There's a certain way to carry yourself in the society. Now, being the adult, the oldest kid in the family, my little brother and sister, they don't call me by the name Simplest.
Okay.
They call me by Monge Simplest. That means big brother Simplest. That's for their lifetime. Now, because I have a bigger sister, I will call her Monge Alphonsine. Now, you see right there, from the early age, you learn how to live the disrespect all the way up.
Right.
Now, when I got to Miami, this happened actually 2 weeks after I got in school. I found that when the teacher walked in the classroom, everybody sit down. And a couple of times, I tell you, Dave, I got over my chair a couple of times, and they say, "What are you doing, Sam? Please sit down." So it was really
a respect thing.
Yes, it is a
your
respect.
Your teacher walks in, you give them respect.
Exactly.
You rise. Okay.
Exactly. Now, this is where it really got into me. I was in a school during a break, and I saw a little boy talking to his parent, and he was saying some bad words, and he was acting up. And I look at it from the side. I say to myself, this will not be happening. You know, it's not that in my country we're going to be whooping people like people say. No. They have to. There is a way to deal with this. It's not like we're not going to hold you tight. No, nothing like that. And the last incident was when a little boy came to me and really trying to give me a hard time. Now, you have to understand, I just got here. I'm struggling learning how to speak English. Okay? Now, on top of that, I'm having this little boy giving me a hard time. I know in my country, things like that don't happen. Now, a friend of mine, I talked to a friend of mine because there was a couple of guys that speak French. I told him, listen, this boy keep doing what he's doing right now. I think I'm going to have to hold him somehow. He said, please don't do that. You in America. I said, okay, well, let me step back. Because I'm not ready to go back home right now because I did an accident. Right. So sincerely, it's come down to understand that culture is different. The way a child maybe might talk to a parent, the way they interact is different from where you are. And it had to take time for me to adjust it to it.
How long have you been in the Pittsburgh area?
I've been in the Pittsburgh area, I would say, let's say 3 or 5 years. Remember, I went to Duquesne University from 2000 to 2003. Correct. And from there, I transferred to Memphis. and came back here 2 years ago. So I've been here, let's say, 5 years now.
Okay. And you majored in what in college?
International business.
International business.
Yes, sir. Economic and a minor in French.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have taken your skills.
Thank you.
And now you have brought a very interesting concept here to Pittsburgh, and we want to talk about it. I believe you call it the
Tropic Groove.
Tropic Groove.
Yes, Tropic
Tell
Groove.
me about it. It sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, just by the name, Tropic Groove. You can kind of try to tie them together. Tropic, you can give you a sense, okay, it might be a tropical region. Groove, what are you thinking about?
Thinking about it in the groove. I want to get some
Exactly,
groove.
dancing. So Tropic Groove is all designed around music and dance. The whole theme is about celebrating cultural diversities and build network.
Okay.
Yes. What we have here, we have a dance social that we organize for now once a month. And when you come to our dance social, we will play the music from the African nation, the Caribbean island, and the Latino. Now you have a panel full of 3 DJ that will represent each different community. So what are you getting with that? For an American, no matter if it's Caucasian, black, or whatever color, when you come in there, you will discover our music. You will understand the steps. You will see the move, and you will find out, you know what, there's something that I never saw before.
So do you do this on an instructional basis? Or are you like showing people how to do the cultural dances from each place? Or
It actually free. We actually want people to learn by imitating.
Okay.
So when you come in there,
You'll see people doing
You will see
it.
people doing, and you will try to do it. As we grow, we will get to the point where we can actually start teaching them before the dance social start.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How has it been received since you've been here in Pittsburgh?
I say great. And then we are calling for more people to come out and really discover it. People love it. You're talking an African beat. You're talking about a Latino beat. You're talking about Caribbean island.
So the influence for each of these music is kind of there. So
Yes,
you're almost
sir.
looking like at a combination.
Yes.
Okay. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about this Tropic Groove, and then I want to ask you some more cultural questions about here in Pittsburgh and your adjustment period in coming in at this point. Okay, this is The Conscience Presents. I'm Dave Adams. We're talking to Simplice Joya from Cameroon, the miniature Africa.
That's correct.
We'll be right back in 1 minute.
Thank you.
Welcome back to The Conscience Presents. Unfortunately, we ran out of time for this show. We're going to bring Mr. Joya back for another show because this is just too good to be cut out, and we kind of ran over a little bit on our time. So I want to apologize to him, but we're definitely going to bring him back for another show. And not only that, we're going to bring you a treat too. That's going to come a little something extra from the Tropic Groove. So stay tuned for this. This is something that we're going to be doing. But not only is Mr. Joya going to be back, we're going to be bringing you many brothers and sisters from across our water and the continent as we begin to build our bridges. I thank you today for being with us with this very important show. Keep your pens and pencils handy as we are going to keep bringing you the awareness of where information is power. I'm Dave Adams. This is The Conscience Presents. Thank you for being with us. I'll see you next time around. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.